think I'm gonna make it, guys. I really do. And the sky behind me towards the east is looking pretty decent. So in about 10 minutes or so, the light should start to break through, and we should see some shadows being casted onto these sand dunes. So I'm almost at the location I want to photograph. Almost there. And pretty excited because it looks like I'm gonna make it. Good morning. We are in the Mesquite Flat Sand Dunes, and it's about 6:30 a.m. and I'm just racing to get to a good spot where I can capture a composition this morning. So the thing about these sand dunes is you have to be willing to hike at least a good mile or two or three, because ideally you want to get away with not having any footprints in your composition. And also the tallest sand dunes are further into the trail than the ones near the parking lot. So we'll see if we can still pull off an image, because today is pretty much a sand dunes day. I'm just gonna be here in the Mesquite Flat Sand Dunes all day. Alright, so I've made it up to not my ideal location, but a location that is a lot better than where I was before, near the parking lot. Just footprints everywhere, and you really can't get a composition. So I've hiked about a mile and a half or so, I'd say, and I think what I've strategized is for sunrise, I'm going to shoot wide angle, or fairly wide angle. I'm going to try and get a shot of these mountains looking towards the east, and just wait until the sun peaks just a little more so it can cast some shadows onto the sand dunes that I'm shooting right now. And definitely tonight for sunset, I'm going to go more towards the direction behind me, because it looks like there are even more sand dunes that way without footprints. So that will be tonight, and what I'm going to do during sunset is I'm just going to use the 70-200 lens. Right now I have my 24-70, and I'm shooting at about 50 mil, so not incredibly wide, but wide enough to get a good shot of not only this primary sand dune that I'm shooting, but also the mountains behind it. So I'm just going to wait a little bit more for the sunlight to peak, and then I'm going to take the composition and probably start making my way back towards the parking lot. So if there's one image that I had in my mind when coming to Death Valley, it's this one. I'm on top of this sand dune, and I'm facing east, and the sun has now peaked and is casting shadows on so many of these sand dunes. It's just an incredible scene. I'm going to take the image now and wrap it up here and head back to the car, get some breakfast, maybe a nap, and come back to this location for sunset to continue scouting. I think what I'm going to do is, behind me, there's more sand dunes that appear to not have any footprints on them. So I think I'm going to explore that location a bit more for sunset. But for right now, I'm going to take this image, amazing, 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 and call it a morning. I kid you not when I say that if I had only come away with those two images from my entire trip to Death Valley, I'd be okay with that. On that unforgettable morning, I photographed what is perhaps one of my favorite photographs of all time. I hiked back to my car feeling incredibly grateful. It was time for some rest and food, then it was back to the sand dunes for sunset. I've come back to the sand dunes for some sunset photography, and I think I learned something from this morning coming out here. Is from the parking lot, if you go far east, you can get to the tallest dunes here in Mesquite Flat Sand Dunes. You can get to the tallest dunes, and they also have the least amount of footprints. But you do have to hike a good 2, maybe to 3 miles from the parking lot to get away from all the people. So I'm going to try that first. And if not, the other thing I noticed was going all the way towards the west from the parking lot, there are smaller sand dunes. They're not as tall as the ones I'm going to right now, but they're also not as heavily trafficked. So we'll see what happens. So I've set up my composition, and about 5 minutes ago, the light was breaking through the clouds, and it was creating a shadow on one side of this dune that I'm shooting with this beautiful leading line. And I've pretty much come to the conclusion that there is no spot right now in these sand dunes that don't have any foot tracks. It's probably been a while since the last major dusting of sand So that's understandable, and I've still found a pretty nice composition. The only thing is, about 2 minutes ago, the sun hid behind the clouds. So right now, I'm not getting that reflection that I'm hoping for. So still have another 20-30 minutes until sunset. So I'm hoping that the sun does break from this cloud. If not, I don't know. I'm gonna make the best of this image. I can always move locations a little bit, but for right now, this is my composition. Okay, so I think as far as light breaking through the clouds, I think our chances are about over. But what I've done is I found one more composition, and it's somewhat abstract. It's basically this single tree bush in the middle of all of these dunes. I am all the way at 200 mil, and I am at f8, 200 mil, and yeah, it's a beautiful image, and it doesn't really depend on the light. So I think for a final composition tonight, it's pretty good.
My journey as a landscape photographer is filled with highs and lows. Sometimes you have an amazing sunrise, then a disappointing sunset. But it's important, like all things in life, to focus on the positives. I never ever regret going out to shoot, because above all, I love just being out in nature. My time in the sand dunes had come to an end, and it was time to set my sights on photographing the salt flats of Great Basin. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, comment, and share this video. If you're watching my channel for the first time, please subscribe. Until next week.